Okay, class, we want to look at functions. Now, to start off with our lecture, we want to look at why we need functions. We need functions for manageability purposes. Suppose you've got a program that is a very long code. It is difficult for you to troubleshoot or debug. But when you break your code into smaller and manageable codes, it means that when it comes to debugging, it becomes easier for you. As a programmer, it is important to design or a program or to allocate some functions inside your program because that will enable you to debug and troubleshoot quickly. Now we want to look at these types of functions. Number one, we've got a function with no return and with no arguments. How do we write the structure? I've written this. Maybe let me increase the font so that it becomes a bit clearer. I've written this and I'm saying int is representing a data type, and of course in lower cases. It is a data type and it is called a return type. Add is a function name. Whatever we find inside the brackets are called arguments. Now we are looking at the int, the return type. We are saying that as you design a program, it means that you need as you design a function, you need a function with a return type and also with arguments. Looking at the first function, which is a function with no return type and with no arguments, we can see that instead of writing any data type here, we don't have a return type. So we are going to replace that with void. Instead of not writing anything because it's a function with no return type, we replace it with void. And the function name is add. Inside the brackets, which we said that is where we put arguments or parameters. We then say there are no arguments and we don't put anything. Number two, we've got a function with no return type but with arguments. Again, we are saying when there is no return type, we replace the data type with void. The place where we are supposed to write the data type, we write void, fine. And this time we've got arguments. Suppose we are adding two numbers, x and y. It means that we are going also to include the variables that we are going to add. We are sort of pre-declaring. So we are saying inside the brackets, we put the variables that we are going to use inside the program. Number three, we've got the function with return type with no arguments. It means that the return type here is there, and because we are adding, we just assume that we are using integers. So I've used the return type int, and the function name is add. Inside the brackets, because there are no arguments, I'm not going to put anything. The last function is the function with return type with arguments. Because it is a function with return type, I'm going to put int in lower cases, function name add, and I'll put the arguments. Fine. Now we are going to start by looking at a program where we've got a function with no return type and no arguments. So I'm going to do that quickly so that you see. Now, this is a function with no return type and with no arguments. So a function, for us to write a function, we must have the function prototype, the function call, and the function name. Now the function prototype is representing that this function is a function with no return type and no arguments, and we are adding. So I've defined the function name is your own taste. It also goes along with whatever the name of the program that you are designing. If you are working with the area, of course, maybe you'd write area here. Because we are adding, I've written add. And after writing the function prototype, remember it is written just after the header. You then write the function, your function name, after the main function. After the return 0 and the closing curly brace, you write void add. And remember, on the prototype, we terminated, but this time we didn't. You open and you close your curly brace, printf, and you say addition, and you terminate, and of course you return. But because we don't have a return type, we are not going to return anything. We are just going to write return as an exit statement and terminate. Now for us to run this program, to execute this program, it is the main function that does the execution. So for it to be executed, we need to call this function inside the main function. How do we call? We take the last part of our function name and we terminate. In other words, we say add and we put the arguments and we terminate like that. So we are saying this is how we write a function with no return type and no arguments. A function with return type and with arguments is written like this. And here, instead of void, we put int. But because this is a function with return type, we are going to say int add, and we want to do the actual addition. So we need to declare x, y, and sum. And we terminate. And of course, we put the initialization, x is equal to 4, 3, and y is equal to 2, like that. And we need also to terminate our statements like that. And after that, you then say sum is equal to x plus y. X plus y, and we terminate. And after that, we say answer is, I'll say ans is %d, and we call the sum like that. As you can see, this is the program, but we are going to call the function inside the main function. After calling the function, we are going to see that because this is a return type, we are going to return sum. We return the answer because this is a function with a return type, and of course we call. So after calling, if we run, you see that all the execution is going to be done inside the main function, and it's now writing answer is 5 like that. So basically, this is how we write a function with return and with no arguments. If we are then to add the arguments, it means that this time we'll say int x, comma, int y. So as I said before, this is sort of declaring our variables, so there is no need of declaring them again inside the main function. So whatever you write on your prototype is the same as what you write on the function name. So again, this is a function with return and with arguments, and if you run the program again, it is going to execute without necessarily declaring the x and y inside the program. So if you run, you see that there's something that is not right here. We've got arguments, so we need also to put the x and the y. Please take note of this. We don't need to put the data types inside our function call, because remember we said when we are calling, we take this last part. Instead of taking the whole thing with the int x, we don't need to put the data types. Instead, we just put the variables. But after putting the variables, we also need to declare int x and y like that, so that at least we'll see that the program, the main function, will know that the variables are declared. Now after running the program, you'll see that it will display the answer. The answer is 5 again. So basically, this is how we write a program with a return type and with arguments. Then we've got a function with no return type but with arguments. Instead of int, this time we just say void, and again you say void here. And instead of returning anything, returning sum, this time you don't return anything, but you just write return. And again, you run the program, you still get the answer is 5. So basically, these are the 4 ways of writing these functions. Thank you very much.